Welcome back to math. This is section 16 on factoring and FOIL, and we'll do the practice problems together. Problem 1 wants us to simplify by combining the like terms. Alright, let's see. We've got an x term and an x term. 2, positive 2 minus 7, that's minus 5x. Now let's do these y's. Plus 4x, that would be plus 8x. Or excuse me, y's. And we have a plus 2 left. Problem 2, simplify by combining like terms. So we've got an x squared term here, another one here, and a third. These two actually cancel each other out, plus x squared minus x squared. So we're left with 3x squared there. That's the only xy term that I see, so we'll just copy it down. Don't forget to keep the sign. This is the only y term that I see, and then that's the only x cubed sign that I see. But we do normally standardize these by putting the higher exponents first. So I'll move that to the front, plus 3x squared minus 4xy plus 4y. Both answers are right, but this is more of a standardized format. Problem 3 asks us to distribute. We've got 3x outside these parentheses and then a binomial inside the parentheses. So we're going to multiply this by this and then by that. 3x times x is 3x squared, and 3x times a positive 2, you got it, 6x. Problem number 4 also wants us to simplify by combining some like terms. But you realize, of course, that in order to do that we need to drop these parentheses, and to do that we need to be sure that we've distributed what is really an understood -1 out here. So this is a positive 1 for that coefficient that's understood, and that's not going to change this. But this one is going to reverse the signs of what's inside the parentheses. Positive 3x squared is now negative 3x squared, and positive 7 is now negative 7. Now we can go ahead and combine the terms, and I see two x squared terms plus an x squared term minus 3x squared terms. That's negative 2x squared. Then this one is unique by itself, and the 7 is also unique. So we have an answer of negative 2x squared plus x minus 7. Problem number 5 would like us to factor 16x squared minus 8x. Well, let's look at the factors of 16. They'd be 1, 16, 2 and 8, or 4 and 4. The factors of 8 are 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. And of course both of these have an x in them also. So the x is going to be common to both, and the biggest thing that I see common to both is the 8. So let's factor 8x out, which means we're going to divide each term by 8x. That would leave us with 2x here minus 1. Here's problem 6. We'd also like us to factor out. We've got 2x cubed minus 12x squared. So I see they both have factors of 2 and factors of x. Here's 4y. Well, it's still got a factor of 2, but x no longer is a common factor, and this also has a common factor of 2. So 2 is the only thing that we're going to be able to factor out of the whole thing. So we're left with x cubed here, dividing 12, actually negative 12, by positive 2. We're going to get negative 6x squared. This will give us 2y and minus 1. You can double check by going back and distributing this, and you should wind back up with the same answer you started with. Problem 7 is another distribution problem. We've got two binomials to multiply together, so we're going to use this FOIL so that we remember to do all the terms by each other. Alright, first, that was going to be x times x, that's going to give us an x squared. The outer, that's going to be x times positive 3. The inner is going to be negative 4 times x, and then the last, positive times a negative, is going to give me negative 12. These are some like terms that need to be combined. So x squared comes down, plus 3 minus 4, that's going to be just minus of 1x, and minus 12. Problem 8 has given us a trinomial that it would like us to factor. And I think we can factor this into two binomials. The coefficient of x is 1, so that means that we're going to start with x here on the first part of our parentheses. X times x will give us x squared. Now we need to know what will multiply together to give us negative 20 and add together to give us negative 1. Well, the factors of 20 are going to be 1 and 20 and 2 and 10 and 4 and 5. And in fact, 1 is going to be negative and 1 is going to be positive because the answer is going to be negative. But they need to add together to be negative 1. Well, I don't even think I want to consider these. These are the ones that are 1 apart. So which one should be negative and which one should be positive is really the decision here. So negative 4 plus 5 would give me 1, and this is going to give me the opposite. They always come in pairs like this. 4 and negative 5 is going to give me negative 1. That's the answer we want. So we have a positive 4 and a negative 5. To double check, x times x is x squared, outer minus 5x, inner plus 4x, and last minus 20. When we combine our like terms, we're back to where we started from. Problem number 9 says factor 3x squared plus 12x minus 36. Now you may have looked at this and said, okay, well, the x squared factor isn't 1, so I know there are some other steps I need to take to do this. But look a little closer. All of these have 3 as a common factor. Let's factor that out first. And now this looks a little less scary. X has now got a coefficient of 1, and we can start off with our usual way. So now we need to know what multiplies together to get negative 12 and adds together to give positive 4. Okay, factors of 12. 1 and 12, 1 with negative, 1 positive, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Which of these adds together to give us positive 4? That doesn't look like it's going to. Negative 2 plus 6, however, equals 4. So, negative 2, positive 6. Let's just double check. X times x is x squared, outside plus 6x, inside minus 2x, minus 12. Don't forget the 3. Combine our like terms. And we're back to here. Problem 10, factor 8x squared plus 6x minus 2. Well, the coefficient for x squared is not 1, but I notice first before we begin that we've got a 2 that's common throughout all of these. So let's factor out the 2. And now let's see if we can do FOIL to factor out this part. Now the coefficient is 4, so that means we have a couple of options. It might be something like this, or it might be this. In other words, in order to get the 4x squared, we might have 2x squared times 2x squared, or we might have 4x squared times x squared. So there's a few options to look at there. But we only have negative 1 here as our last result, so there's not too much to factor there. Let's make a few charts, though. So for -1, we might have -1 or 1 or 1, -1. I guess it doesn't really matter when you're looking at 2 and 2. Or we might have 4, 1 with -1, 1, or 1, -1. Or we might switch this around and have 1, 4, -1, 1, 1, -1. So what I'm doing is I'm making some charts of all the different options. And what we're going to do is take the top of this and multiply it by what's below before we add them together. So we're trying to figure out what's going to happen when we multiply our inners and our lasts, for example. Our result that we're looking for is a positive 3. So 2 times -1 plus 2 times 1. That's -2 plus 2, that's 0. And this is also going to be 0, not a positive 3. 4 times -1 is -4, plus 1 is -3. Well, let's try the other one then, because positive 4 plus -1, that's going to be our positive 3. And that's the one that we want. Now, the 1 goes with the 1x plus 1, and the -1 goes with the 4. Let's double check this to be sure we're right. First is 4x times x, that's 4x squared. Our outers are plus 4x. Our inner is minus x. And our last is -1. And don't forget the 2. When we combine these, we're going to get the positive 3x that we were looking for. Problem number 11. Factor x squared minus 25. Well, they're both perfect squares, and there's a difference between them. So this will factor as x plus 5 and x minus 5. This is the square root of the x, and then the square root of 25, 5, so it's plus and minus 5. Let's see what happens when we check our work. X times x is x squared. Outsides is minus 5x, inside plus 5x, last minus 25. These cancel out. We have x squared minus 25. And finally, problem 12 is another factoring of the difference between two perfect squares. The perfect square at the beginning here is 3x, and the square root of 4 is 2. One's positive, one's negative. Let's just prove that's right. Outsides is minus 6x, insides plus 6x, minus 4. The middle cancels out, and we've checked our work. We're back to 9x squared minus 4.